I'm so excited to show you this. This is eGenius. It's a two-person aircraft. Well, what's so special about that? Well, it's a two-person aircraft that was built in 2011. And this aircraft has won many, many, many awards since 2011 and quite a few world records as well. For instance, it was the first, and I believe so far the only sub-1,000 kilo class aircraft that has flown electrically for 2,000 kilometers. What also makes it super special is it was built by the University of Stuttgart's Institute of Aircraft Design. Now, you won't find many universities that build aircraft at all, and most of those that do will build third or quarter size models. So it's just like radio controlled planes that maybe go in wind tunnels or that people will fly with a radio control. But there's very, very, very few institutes around the world that actually build aircraft, fully manned aircraft that people can sit in and fly with. And this baby's going to fly again soon. eGenius was built with the future in mind. As I say, it's not about building an aircraft that you can then sell commercially. It's about building a flying testbed. So when this aircraft flew for 2,000 kilometers electrically, it was a hybrid. But it wasn't a hybrid like, you know, in most cars these days. It was a hybrid that used a generator with traditional but very efficient fuel, a generator to create electricity so it could get that far. And it actually flew those 2,000 kilometers using just 81 liters, which is amazing. Just right now, it's being rebuilt because the next test, and we're going to be seeing this fly in a few weeks' time, but the next test is actually to try and use a full electric aircraft to get gliders into the air. So there's a bank of batteries in here at the moment that are special powerful batteries that can give you a lot of power at once. There are different kinds of battery technologies, and some batteries are there to try and give you a long period of power, for instance in your mobile phone, unless you've got one like mine, where you don't need to charge it that often. Whereas these ones are about bursts of power, because you may know that when you fly, pretty much the hardest thing to do is get the bird in the air. So having high power electric means that you'll be able to use an electric aircraft like this one to pull gliders into the air. Another great step forward towards green aviation. Now, Stefan SiFlA is the man who's been responsible for the eGenius project right since day one. He's also a pilot who tests his own aircraft, and we're really lucky that he invited us along to Mengen Airfield in southern Germany, where he's been testing the eGenius aircraft so that we could film some of his pioneering work. Stefan, thank you so much for having me back again with your amazing eGenius. I know you've been testing this and you've got some really exciting news to share with us, but let's start off by saying, where are we today and what are we doing?
Yeah, welcome again. Today we are in Mengen in southern Germany, just a few kilometers north of the Lake Constance, and where this aircraft is based. And we've already concluded one test flight today where we tested the functionality of the autopilot, the autoflight system. Yeah.
Excellent. And was that like a first for you with doing the test today?
We've tested the autopilot before, like the low-level controller, like the attitude control. And this time we try to have a path program that it's supposed to follow.
Excellent. All right, so you're pre-programming the path that the glider is going to take off with then. So it's not looking at the different aircrafts around it like you would with a car with autonomous driving. It's actually about saying this is the path and now follow the program that we've set. Oh?
Yeah, you pre-plan a trajectory which is efficient and doesn't has a low noise impact on the people around the airport. But as soon as you have a dynamic target coming in, so for example, another like air traffic, it will adjust the trajectory to avoid that.
So it'll automatically, like if a plane has to do an emergency landing, it'll automatically move around it then, oh?
Basically, yeah. But every sort of traffic that's coming in, it will dynamically adjust to that. Yeah.
That's really good. So for the people who are just listening to this podcast, we're stood, as Stefan said, in this beautiful Mengen. It's a wonderful autumn day. The leaves are coming down on the trees. My hair is blowing all over the place. And just in case you're driving and you listen to the podcast and you think you're going crazy, those voices in the background are actually the radio messages that are coming from the tower, I guess, right?
Exactly. It's a quite busy airport here. All people enjoying the weather and doing like VFR traffic patterns. Yeah.
And have you flown already today?
Yes, we've done one test flight, like 45 minutes.
Wow.
Which cost us 45% of our battery capacity. So
Okay.
we recharged that by now already and ready to go again to further fine-tune the gains on the autopilot a little more, because we want to do it with the glider in the evening.
Okay, so you're going to actually do another test flight with the autopilot, and then you're going to do a test flight with the autopilot and the glider, right?
Yeah, we're actually going to do an aero tow with the active autopilot. And I think not many people have done that before. It might even be a world's first.
I'm pretty certain it is. So this is fantastic. It really is. So what's the procedure now? I mean, you've just been charging the Ingenious. How long does it take to charge this battery?
So we have a 40 kilowatt hour battery system, and right now our charger is set to 20 kilowatts. So from 0 to 100, it would take us a little more than 2 hours.
And do you always charge to 100%? Or is, sometimes with some devices, they say only charge to 80 and...
We don't put that many cycles on the battery, so we try to charge it to 100 just to have the extra reserve.
Okay.
So with aircraft, you wouldn't do it like with a cell phone battery. You want to start with 100%. Yeah.
And tell me, are you actually testing the battery technology? Remind me, what's the name of the great company that you're working with? I know you've got somebody who's giving you the batteries, and there's another company who gave you the displays with the autopilot instruments. But tell me about those two companies.
Our industry partners for this project are Air Energy from Aachen, who supplied the batteries. They have a long history of know-how of development of customized battery systems for an aircraft just like that. And the other one is Air Avionics, which is a well-known avionics supplier. They designed the displays that tell us what the autopilot is doing, basically.
Okay. And are you actually testing anything for Air Avionics, or are they just giving you the parts so that you can test the other parts of the project?
We're actually doing like development for them. So basically, that's one of the main goals of the project for them, is to have this this newly developed technology. For example, the displays, the software that's running on the displays was also customized by Air Avionics. So they use our feedback that we have for them for future products that they develop. And so does Air Energy, of course.
Excellent. And that can be used in all sorts of different applications as well. It's not just about making...
Exactly. It's like assistive systems for general aviation pilots, because those pilots are not used to use autopilots and flight management systems and stuff, but it could still be useful also in general aviation to have those systems to improve flight safety.
Well, listen, I know that you're in a rush to get back up in the air, so I don't want to stop you for too much longer now, but just give us a really brief overview. What are the next steps? What do you do from here? Obviously, I think we're going to be pushing this plane over somewhere, but what's the next step?
So we have to do a minor software update on the autopilot itself, so we implement the tuned gains, or the changes that we had. And then we're just going to get our parachutes on, and then we're going to taxi out to the runway 07 here today, because we have winds from the east. And then we're going to take off to 2,000 feet above ground level, because that's the minimum altitude that we're supposed to turn the autopilot on at.
Okay.
So that's on the minimum safety altitude, and from there we're going to do our autopilot testing. And this involves a simple, like a racetrack pattern that we're going to fly with the autopilot. So we'll switch it on, the autopilot on, and then hands off the controls, and hopefully everything goes well.
How confident are you?
I'm pretty confident, because we had a few flights with that system, and it really it's well behaved, so to say. And I always have one hand at the switch to the kill switch.
Okay.
To shut it off in case.
So I don't need to repark my car a few miles away, no?
No, it's all right. We're gonna.
And you're actually going to be wearing parachutes as well. I didn't realize that. So
we have to. It's when you fly a prototype aircraft like this,
it's a regulatory requirement, huh?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
You wouldn't have a regular powered glider.
Yeah.
And most people don't. It's just because we have this prototype certification or permit to fly that we have to wear parachutes.
All right. Well, if I see you jumping out and the parachute opens, I'll go and move my car then.
Yes.
All right then. Good luck. Let's find out. Looking forward to find out what happened.
Yep.
Isn't that fantastic? What you're looking at there is an electric vehicle, an electric airplane, eGenius, that has just pulled a glider into the sky. It's towed a glider up. We've seen this many times before with carbon technology. There's nothing new about that, but we're using an electric vehicle to get gliders into the sky. Gliders are obviously carbon very neutral, or at least when they're flying they are. And eGenius also is locally carbon neutral. So it's absolutely wonderful to see this stuff happening here. And it's now flying with an autopilot. For the people who are listening with the podcast, we're just seeing the eGenius electric aeroplane. It's coming back, taxiing back to its hangar. It's just flown on autopilot whilst towing a glider into the air. So we're talking about sustainable aviation, getting a glider into the air and driving on an autopilot, which is great for noise pollution, which is great for efficiency, and it's also great for safety in the skies. This is, I believe, a world first. It's certainly one of the very first, and hey, big round of applause to Stefan SiFlA and the whole team of eGenius at the Institute of Aircraft Design at Stuttgart University. Here they come.
So we just landed from the final test flight for today, which was aero towing with an active autopilot. So we towed the glider up to 700 meters above the ground. And then we had to park basically there, or loiter, as you say, because we had some bugs in the software that we had to fix in situ. But we succeeded, and then we could turn on the autopilot and flew an S-shaped pattern with the glider in the back or at the cable. And it's only 5 minutes to sunset now, so the turbulences have calmed down, and we have very smooth air, which helped for a smooth ride, and it performed really well. So we did that S pattern with a bang angle limitation to 10 degrees also, which also helped for a smooth flight path. And then we just flew in a straight line and had the glider do some funny stuff on the cable, basically some deviations, disturbances for the autopilot to correct, which it also did quite well. And then we gave him a little more altitude. Then he released at 900 meters above the ground, and we both returned safely. So great success.
Excellent. That is absolutely amazing. How long has this been in the planning?
Well, the project started over 2.5 years ago. So and with all, I mean, this is really not an easy task to do automated glider towing with an electric aircraft. So there's many different layers of that project, and with this flight we really had it all together. So it's really, really amazing. 2.5 years.
Tell me, how was it for you sitting there? Are you flying? Were you flying as well, or are you the passenger? I don't know if this.
I'm the passenger.
Yeah.
And he is the pilot. I'm trying to activate the controller.
Okay.
The autopilot.
And you had to fix some bugs in the air, right?
I found there is a bug, and then we just restarted the autopilot. Then it is solved.
Excellent. So tell me, we've got to check off, what have we actually proven? Which hypotheses have you tested? What have you managed to achieve? I know some of your records. Tell me all about it. What is this project proven so far?
So we have achieved electric glider towing, which is a novelty by itself. It's very energy efficient, so we use 10 or 5 to 10% of the energy that a regular tow plane uses. We have proven that we can do that with automation, so with an autopilot. So the tow pilot in a further development stage has a workload relief, so he can focus on other things that would increase flight safety. And also because of the electric propulsion system, we have a decreased noise impact on the people around the airport.
And what weight did you manage to get up in the air? How much have you towed so far?
So this glider was roughly 400 kilograms. So it was a single-seater, a rather light one, because there were 2 people also in the cockpit, so we wanted to keep it down. But we have managed to tow a 750 kilogram glider, which is, yeah.
I think that's the most that's ever been towed electrically. Right?
That's correct, yeah. That's the heaviest takeoff weight for an electrically towed sailplane. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, I think I'm going to take my hat off to you guys and have a drink on you this evening. Is there anything that this project's failed on so far?
Not so far. I mean, there's more functionality that we can program into the autopilot, like traffic avoidance and avoiding noise-sensitive areas. We still have a couple of weeks left, so we might be able to prove that as well. So that's just a little work for the future that we're gonna do. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for everything you do to save the planet. To make sure we can all fly on holiday, but also for the people who need airplanes to be able to get to places. It's all very easy when you live in Central Europe to think that airplanes are a luxury, but some people depend on them. And I think it's absolutely great work that you're doing here, getting a sustainable glider, sustainable aviation thing that's been sustainable for many years into the air, using sustainable technology, using autopilots. I mean, this is all fantastic stuff. Very motivating, and looking forward to see how this story carries on, guys.
We're happy to share it.
Thank you. Thanks for tuning in. I do hope you enjoyed this podcast. You may have already noticed that all our podcasts are also available as films, and they're hosted on the Progress Factors channel on YouTube. So you can actually see the eGenius pioneering test flights taking place with your own eyes. There's also lots of other podcasts in the Progress Voices series on sustainable aviation. Wherever you downloaded or wherever you streamed this podcast is where you'll find some more Progress Voices podcasts. And there's even an in-depth interview with Professor Andreas Strohmeyer, who's responsible for the Institute of Aircraft Design in Stuttgart. That's the guy that Stefan SiFlA works for. And we've even got an interview coming out in a couple of weeks' time with Stefan himself, where he goes even deeper into the technology and the achievements of the eGenius project. Do please like us, follow us, share these podcasts with all your friends so that we can maybe inspire a few more people to turn their good intentions into great results. And do keep tuning in. Looking forward to sharing more information with you soon.